very, very, very delighted to invite Hilary Hicklin, our previous chair, who's been very, very active in some fundraising for the group this year. So do you want me to say it, or do you want to say it, what you've been doing? I can say what you've been doing. Right. So two major bits of fundraising. The one was the Sheffield Harland Community Players. I knew I'd get it wrong.
Hasland Community. Well, it's the community players. We were all in the NHS, and we did a panto every year for about, 20 odd years. And I've only just got back into it. I was part-time prompt. But anyway, that we got 450 for that.
£450 from that, and I was delighted to be invited to go to the presentation event. The community players actually raise a huge amount of money, and so they shared the proceeds with a number of different charities, and it was actually an incredibly powerful and moving event.
It was lovely.
It was really lovely, and thank you so much for inviting me. So that's part of it. And the other major part of it is that Hilary organised a fashion show, and for which Darren attended on behalf of the group, and which was
he didn't model though.
I was just there to take the bins out.
So you can see what. Anyway, which involved a meal and a fashion parade, and you sold about 120 tickets and raised an astonishing
£2,110.
So thank you, Hilary. It's just fantastic. I really appreciate, the whole group really appreciates the support and the effort and thinking of us. And thank you so much.
That's okay.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Okay, so we're moving into the Q&A section of the afternoon, and it's. So I don't know whether he's sort of ready with any questions. Has anybody got any thoughts? If not, I'll kick off. Yes, Beatrice. So Beatrice, because we're still live streaming this.
Oh, sorry, do you want to say the name and everything?
It's more that when you I'll put this on. It's more, would you please let me repeat your question rather than run around, because it's not a remote mic. So.
Okay, so how do you partake? How do you give your blood, your donate? How can we join in?
So Beatrice is wanting to know how to join in, how to give you some blood. So would you like to come to the mic?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, at the moment, what we do is we have some funding to recruit some participants, and I'm delighted to say that we have almost all the participants that have been recruited so far, because we recruited a sub-cohort of new participants, and we are following them up at 4 time points. So at each 6 months they are, or between 6 months and 12 months, they are donating blood and being clinically assessed. And those who are, we are recruiting the sub-cohort of people with mild, moderate symptoms, and people with severe symptoms, they are being seen at home by our research nurses. So because we have to have the samples into the biobank within 6 hours, we have this kind of radius around London, because our research nurses have to drive to their homes, collect blood, rush to the biobank to have the samples to be processed and stored. So at the moment, we are only following up this new cohort, but we are applying for more funding to expand the cohort of participants. Our aim is to get 1,000 participants with an ECFS. If we get the funding, we'll be announcing this, and we are so blessed because the patients around are always offering us to donate blood and blood samples and data. But yes, at the moment we are just following up this cohort. But I'm really glad that you asked this, because
So when you get the funding for the next lot, will you let us know and then we can help?
oh, definitely,
Thank
it will be great to have more people.
I'm just wondering whether I could follow on from that question, because it's interesting that your samples are coming from the London area, and it was interesting that you made reference to one of the kind of emerging themes is around both genetics but also environmental toxicity. And there's lots of emerging findings around the air pollution levels and environmental toxicity in London. So it is an interesting point whether you'd like to contrast it with some clean air, tree-built Sheffield city.
Yes, this is a very good point, particularly because my previous life, I used to say, I was a research, I did my PhD in environmental health, so it is something that it's in our radar as well. In relation to the cohort that we have, around London, it's mainly the ones who are severely affected. As Shannae said, we have those people who are mainly housebound or bedbound. And the people with mild moderate symptoms, we have been recruiting people as far as Cornwall. Some people go from Edinburgh to London or to Norwich to have their blood collected. But for these people, we already have the sample size that we're allowed to follow up with the funding that we have. So yes, it's not only London, but I would love to come to Sheffield and collect blood.
That sounds so wrong.
Yeah.
Yes?
I wondered what you thought to the news that the doctor at Stanford has claimed to have found a biomarker for ME, and will that affect how you work on your funding?
So the question relates to the recent research publications from Dr. Ron Davis at Stanford University and his findings in terms of blood sampling. Would you like to comment?
Yes, we have been discussing this with some people with MS, with ME that have been asking us about that. And my response is I'm really, I think that we have to understand that it's a very promising research. Professor Ron Davis is a very prominent scientist. I just met him in March in Australia. He was presenting his findings prior to the publication. And I think that it's a promising result, but we have to understand that it's still a small sample size, and all results done, all research done in a small group of patients, we have to validate. I think that there is hope that something very important comes out from this research, but we cannot say that that is it. I think that we have to mediate scientific findings with what the media puts out. And I really respect Professor Davis, and I think that he is very cautious on presenting his results, but media sells journals in a way that it's better to put in kind of glowing things. And I don't think that this was the intention of Professor Davis. So I think that he's a renowned scientist, he's doing a great job, and I think that he's on something that might be really important for us all, for all us. Sorry, my Portuguese is coming in. But yes, I think that this is what I could say at this moment.
So just to follow that up then, is there the possibility that there could be some collaboration in terms of access to the samples in the biobank?
Well, we
Is there
would
any
love
discussion?
to. Actually, we are trying to reach out to Ron Davis, because another thing is that technology for doing the kind of test that he's doing is quite expensive. And if he wants to use our biobank, we'll be delighted with the samples. I think that it's to validate what he found. And this is what Shannae was showing in these slides, that the basic science can inform other research. But from this basic science, I think that the slide, if you bear with me, we can come back to it. Yeah, so from this one, I think that this is where Dr. Ron Davis is. And once this is done and we validate these findings in a bigger sample size, then we can consider models on how to tackle the pathophysiology or the pathways that he's showing that are abnormal. And is it possible, do you have something in line that could be translated into a clinical trial? So it's research, serious research takes time. I'm not saying this because I'm a researcher. Previously I was a clinician as well, and in Brazil. And for this, I mean, I just told you that from the epidemiological research that we started, it was more than 10 years ago, and I met some of you more than 10 years ago. And we are still here trying to pass from this situation to this. What we are doing now is not only doing that, but trying to get infrastructure that can improve this path, and then we go all the way. Did it address your question?
Yes.
Are there other similar banks of data relevant to any CFS in other parts of the world with which there can be connections and pooling of data, investigators using your data, using other sets of data? And can you give us, if there are, can you give us a sense of the global scale that this currently or in the near future could have?
So the question related to are there other equivalent or similar banks of data in other parts of the world, and if so, what is the kind of global scale of this collection and their work?
I'd love to give you a hug just for this question. Because, yes, we didn't have time to talk about this, but as I told you, we were the first one in Europe, but there are some biocollections in Europe, so we are trying to standardize our protocols with different biocollections. So there is a biobank in Spain, there is a biobank in Norway, there is a biobank, a blood collection in Germany, in Berlin, in Charité Institute, and in Italy. It's very challenging to organize and to standardize this, but it's one of the goals of the Euromin project that was funded by European cost, that is linked to the European Commission. Also, I just mentioned that we have been in Australia, and I'm not sure if you have seen that the Manson Foundation in Australia has put some funding and opened a call for proposals to research and biobank. So we are in collaboration with some colleagues putting a proposal together, and we were invited, we were honored to be invited by them to help with this proposal. So there is possibility of a biobank in Australia. There is also a proposal from the Ministry of Health in Canada to develop some similar facility, like biorepository or a biobank. There is a biobank, as the Soul CFS in America, that we are working in close collaboration now, and I'm very glad to announce that. So we are trying to get this as soon as possible, this collaboration, and to standardize our protocols. This means that if we manage to do this, we'll have an increase in sample size in a global way. This is why we talk about, I think that the initial, it's not going out. I think that the first time we are talking about the global biobank. Where is it? It's not coming out, but anyway, is that, yeah. Global research in ME/CFS. So this is why I think that the idea is that. So thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, David. Are there any further questions from the floor? Any questions? Any online questions? No, nothing further. Okay, so I, in that case, want to. Would you like to say the thank yous? Yeah.
All right, okay.
Would you like to? Yes.
Thanks, Carol.
I did do the introduction, but apparently it wasn't picked up on. So, I would like to obviously thank Eliana for and Shannae and Kate for coming along. I was delighted when I asked the Biobank if someone could come and speak to Sheffield ME and Fibromyalgia Group, and they sent 3 people. So that was lovely. It's been a really, really interesting day. As I said in the introduction that people will have missed, we all love biomedical science. We love biomedical researchers, and we are very happy to be able to meet them, to be able to engage in the science with them, and I think everybody would agree with that. So it's been a really, really interesting afternoon. It's been lovely to meet all 3 of you, and I hope you'll be able to come back to Sheffield soon. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or? Fine. No.
Well, I think that is just to thank you for having us, and I'm so glad that we have the opportunity to show a little bit of what we are researching, and to introduce you to our young researchers. That I'm so glad. I was telling them that I am like a proud mom, saying yes, they are doing that. So yes. Do you want to add something?
So yes, thank you to Eliana, and very much to echo what you've said, which is please, 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 if you know anybody who's interested in getting involved in the world of biomedical research, please point them towards research into fibromyalgia, ME, CFS, and any of these related diseases, because this is so desperately needed, and the funding for this, I think, might gradually begin to improve a little bit. Is that what you think? And we need to have researchers ready to step in and to pick up the mantle and to work on our behalf to try and make some steps forward in the science. So thank you very much. I just echo, please help yourself to some cakes on the way out if you like. I was going to put on now the film of Sheffield's Millions Missing event, which was only about 10 days ago. So please feel free to stay and watch that. It's just 5 minutes long. Otherwise, please stay and talk to trustees, and please come and say hi. And we look forward to seeing you at future events. We'll be running an autumn conference. This will come out on the Facebook page, in the newsletter, and by e-news. If you're not getting e-news or you're not getting the newsletter, please come and see Harriet, and she will make sure that you're on the list. We have a short evaluation form because it's always useful for us to get some feedback, and because our funders also want to know who's attended and where they're from. So be grateful if you could spend just a minute filling in the feedback form, and I'll try and set up the video for you. But huge thank you to everybody for coming today, and we hope to see you again in lots of different ways, online or face-to-face at future events. And thank you very much for coming.